At 2:47 a.m., Claire found the messages. Her husband didn't even try to explain. He just smiled and said, "You were never supposed to see that until after the baby." What she discovered next was worse than betrayal. Her mother hadn't died of cancer 3 years ago. She'd been murdered, and the man she married. He was part of the plan all along. But Claire's billionaire father has been watching, waiting, building a case. And now it's time for revenge. If you love stories where justice isn't just served, it's earned, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Let's begin. The security camera in the corner of the penthouse living room recorded everything. 2:47 in the morning. Claire Hutchinson stood barefoot on the cold marble floor, 7 months pregnant, holding her husband's phone like it was a live grenade. The screen glowed in the darkness. Message after message scrolled past her trembling fingers. Each one carved away another piece of the life she thought she knew. "Can't wait to be done with her," one read. "The patent transfer clears Friday. Then we're free." She has no idea. God, she's so trusting. Claire's hands shook. The baby kicked inside her. As if sensing something was wrong, she placed one palm against her swollen belly and used the other to keep scrolling. 3 years of messages, 3 years of lies. The bedroom door opened behind her. Derek appeared in his silk pajamas, hair perfect even at this hour. He saw what she was holding, and his face didn't change. No surprise, no panic, just cold calculation. "You were never supposed to see that," he said. His voice was steady, matter of fact. Claire looked up at him. This man she'd married. This man whose child she carried. "How long?" she whispered. "How long, what? How long have you been planning this?" Derek walked to the bar cart and poured himself a scotch. He took a slow sip before answering. "Since before we met, honestly. Your mother's AI patent was worth $400 million. I needed access to it. You were the access." The words hit her like physical blows. Claire gripped the back of the sofa to stay standing. "You married me for a patent." "I married you because you were convenient," Derek said. He wasn't even trying to soften it. "Sweet, trusting, still grieving your mother. You signed whatever I put in front of you." The estate reorganization, Claire breathed. 6 months after her mother's death, Derek had said it was just paperwork. Tax optimization. She'd signed everything he asked. "Among other things," Derek confirmed. "The prenuptial agreement was particularly useful. You signed away rights to everything, including any intellectual property connected to your mother's estate. My lawyers were very thorough." The room tilted. Claire sank onto the arm of the sofa. "But we're having a baby." "Yes, that was unfortunate timing." Thus Derek finished his drink. "Vanessa wanted me to end things before you got pregnant, but you were being so clingy. It was easier to just wait." Vanessa, the name from the messages. The other woman, as if summoned. A door opened down the hall, not the bedroom, the guest room. A woman emerged wearing one of Derek's shirts. Tall, blonde, beautiful in that cold, expensive way. She looked at Claire with something like pity. "This is Vanessa Price," Derek said casually. "My business partner. We've been together for 18 months. The world collapsed inward. Claire couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The woman had been here, in their home, while Claire was pregnant with Derek's child. "I don't understand," Claire managed. Vanessa sat on the opposite sofa, curling her legs beneath her like she owned the place. "Your mother developed a revolutionary medical diagnostics algorithm before she died. Derek and I needed it for our startup. He married you, got you to sign the rights over. Now the company is worth $500 million, and we don't need you anymore. The divorce papers will be served tomorrow," Derek added. "My lawyer filed them this afternoon. Given the prenup, you'll get nothing. The apartment is in my name, the car, the bank accounts, all of it." Claire felt the baby kick again, harder this time. "You can't do this. I'm pregnant." "Which is why we waited until now," Vanessa said. Her tone was almost kind, sympathetic. It made everything worse. "Once the baby is born, custody will be shared. But financially, you'll be on your own. Derek's lawyers have made sure of that." "You should probably call someone," Derek suggested. You'll need to find a place to stay. He said it like he was doing her a favor, like he was being generous. Claire looked between the two of them. These people who had systematically destroyed her life while pretending to love her. Get out, Claire whispered. This is my apartment, Derek reminded her. Then I'll get out. She stood, swaying slightly. The room spun. Derek and Vanessa exchanged a glance. Some wordless communication that spoke of months, years of intimacy, of partnership, the thing Claire thought she'd had. Call me if there's a problem with the pregnancy, Derek said as he guided Vanessa back toward the bedroom. His bedroom. Their bedroom. I don't want anything to affect the baby's health. The door closed behind them. Claire stood alone in the darkness, one hand on her belly, the other clutching a phone full of evidence that would mean nothing in court. She'd signed everything away, given him everything, trusted everything. The security camera in the corner kept recording, but there was no one watching who cared. Claire didn't sleep. She sat on the sofa until dawn broke over Manhattan, painting the penthouse in shades of gray and gold. When Derek and Vanessa emerged around 8, freshly showered and dressed for work, they barely glanced at her. The lawyer will be in touch, Derek said on his way out. Don't make this difficult. Claire, you signed a contract. The door closed. Silence pressed in from all sides. Claire's phone rang. She stared at it dully. Dr. Beth Morgan's office? Right. She had an appointment this morning. She answered with a voice that didn't sound like her own. Claire, Beth's warm tone cut through the fog. Honey, are you okay? You sound terrible. I need to come in, Claire heard herself say. Something's wrong. An hour later, she sat in the exam room while Beth checked her blood pressure. The numbers made the doctor frown. Your pressure is dangerously elevated, Beth said. What's going on? Claire told her. All of it. The phone, the messages, Derek and Vanessa, the prenup she'd signed without reading. Beth's expression shifted from concern to fury. That bastard, Beth breathed. Claire, you need to call the police. Leo. And tell them what? That my husband cheated, that he tricked me into signing legal documents. None of that is illegal. He's causing you severe stress while you're pregnant. That could harm the baby. He'd just say I'm being emotional, unstable. Claire felt tears building, but forced them back. Can you help me or not? Beth was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled out her prescription pad. Bed rest, immediately. Reduce stress. I'm serious. Claire, if this continues, you could go into early labor. The baby's not ready yet. Claire took the prescription with numb fingers. I don't have anywhere to go. What about your father? The question landed like a stone in still water. We haven't spoken in 3 years. Not since Mom's funeral. Maybe it's time, Beth said gently. Claire left the office in a daze. She had $200 in her purse. Her personal bank account held maybe $3,000 more. Everything else was in joint accounts Derek controlled. The apartment, the car, everything was his. She called the only lawyer she knew, a college friend who'd gone into family law. The conversation lasted 5 minutes. Claire, I'm so sorry, but you don't have a case. You signed a prenuptial agreement that specifically waives your rights to marital assets and any intellectual property connected to your family estate. It's ironclad. He lied to me about what I was signing. Can you prove that, or were you coerced, threatened? No, I just trusted him. Silence on the line. Then that's not illegal. I wish it were. Claire ended the call and stood on the corner of Fifth Avenue watching traffic rush past. People everywhere, moving with purpose. She felt invisible. Erased. Her phone buzzed. A number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer. Hello. Claire, the voice was deep, rough with emotion. It's your father. She froze. Robert Hutchinson, the man who'd abandoned her and her mother when Claire was 12. Who sent checks but never visited. Who showed up at the funeral 3 years ago with empty eyes and emptier words. How did you know? Claire asked. I've been keeping tabs. Robert said, making sure you were safe. When I saw Derek's name on the divorce filing this morning, I knew something was wrong. You've been watching me, anger cut through the numbness. For how long? Always. Claire, we need to talk. In person. I don't want to see you. Your mother didn't die of cancer. The words hit her like ice water. Claire gripped the phone tighter. What? She was murdered, Robert said. His voice was flat. Certain. And your husband's family is responsible. Traffic sounds faded. The world narrowed to that single sentence. That's insane. I have proof. Meet me, please. I know I don't deserve your trust, but your mother deserves justice. And so do you. Claire wanted to hang up, wanted to scream at him for being absent all those years, for thinking he could just appear now when she was at her lowest. But she thought of Derek's cold eyes, Vanessa's pitying smile, the systematic way they'd planned her destruction. Maybe her father was crazy. Maybe this was grief talking. But maybe, just maybe, he was telling the truth. Where, Claire asked. Robert gave her an address, a private airfield in Westchester. I'll send a car, 1 hour. Come alone. Why should I trust you? Silence. Then because right now I'm the only person you have left. He was right. Oh, that was the worst part. He was absolutely right. Claire looked up at the penthouse tower where she'd lived for 3 years, where she'd been happy, or thought she was. The whole thing had been a lie, a performance. Derek had played his role perfectly. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Just a photo. Claire opened it and her blood went cold. It was a toxicology report. Her mother's name at the top. Date of death 3 years ago. Cause listed as metastatic cancer. But someone had highlighted a section in yellow. Heavy metal poisoning. Arsenic, lead, mercury. Levels that should have triggered investigation. Below the image, a single line of text. They killed her slowly. Don't let them do the same to you. Claire's hands shook. She placed one palm against her belly, feeling the baby move. Her mother's grandchild. Her mother, who'd built her company from nothing, who'd developed that algorithm everyone wanted, who died in agony while Claire held her hand, believing it was cancer. If Derek's family had killed her mother, they'd taken everything. Her mother's life, her work, her daughter, her grandchild. A black town car pulled up to the curb. The driver stepped out, nodded to her. Robert's car, her father, who she hadn't trusted in 16 years, offering answers she desperately needed. Claire got in. The drive to Westchester took 40 minutes. Claire spent them remembering. She'd been 12 when her father left. No warning. Just came home from school one day and he was packing. Her mother cried in the kitchen while Robert stuffed clothes into suitcases with mechanical efficiency. Where are you going? Claire had asked from the doorway. Robert looked at her, really looked at her, and she saw something she'd never forget. Relief. He was relieved to be leaving. Business trip, he'd said. The lie was obvious even to a 12-year-old. He didn't come back, not for birthdays, not for holidays. Checks arrived monthly, enough to keep them comfortable, enough to pay for Claire's education. Her mother's a small tech startup. The apartment in Brooklyn, but no visits, no calls. Her mother never explained, just said, your father has his reasons. The sadness in her voice made Claire stop asking. Claire learned to hate him, the man who abandoned them, who sent money like that was a substitute for presence. When she turned 18, she returned his check unopened, and the next one, and all the ones after. Her mother's startup grew. The medical diagnostics algorithm was revolutionary, using artificial intelligence to predict diseases before symptoms appeared, save lives. Claire had helped code it during college. Those late nights with her mother, coffee and code and laughter. Then the cancer, fast and vicious. 6 months from diagnosis to death. Claire quit her job to care for her mother full-time, held her hand through chemo, watched her waste away. Robert showed up at the funeral, thinner, older. He tried to talk to Claire, and she'd walked away. She had nothing to say to a man who couldn't be bothered to visit his dying wife. 2 months later, she met Derek at a tech conference. Handsome, successful, interested in her work. They started dating. He was everything her father wasn't. Attentive, present. He asked about her mother's algorithm, seemed genuinely fascinated by her work. 6 months later, he proposed. Claire said yes. She wanted a family. Wanted someone who wouldn't leave. The irony wasn't lost on her now. The car pulled through gates into a private airfield. A sleek jet sat on the tarmac. Robert Hutchinson stood at the bottom of the stairs. He looked older than she remembered. Gray hair, lines around his eyes, but still tall, still commanding. He wore jeans and a simple sweater, not the expensive suits she remembered. Claire got out of the car slowly. Her pregnant belly made everything awkward. Robert's eyes went to it immediately. Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe, or regret. "Thank you for coming," he said. "You said my mother was murdered." Claire's voice was flat. "Prove it." Robert gestured to the jet. "Let's talk inside. You shouldn't be standing." They climbed aboard. The interior was understated. Comfortable but not ostentatious. Robert poured her water, sat across from her in one of the leather seats. 16 years ago, he began, I discovered someone at my company was selling defense secrets to foreign buyers. I was CEO of Hutchinson Defense Systems. We built satellite technology, encryption systems, classified work. Claire knew this. Her father's company had been huge, worth billions. I started investigating. Robert continued. Quietly, the person involved was my business partner, Marcus Castellano. The name hit her like a fist. Derek's father. Yes, Marcus was stealing intellectual property and selling it. When I confronted him, he threatened your mother, threatened you, said if I reported him, you'd both have accidents. So you left, Claire said bitterly. Great fathering. I made a choice. Robert's voice was hard. I could stay and watch you both die, or I could leave, make Marcus think I was broken, defeated, too destroyed to fight back. You sent checks. I sent money and I investigated from a distance. Spent 16 years building a case. Collecting evidence. Marcus is careful, thorough. It took everything I had to stay ahead of him. Claire wanted to believe him, wanted to think her father had reasons. But 16 years was a long time to be alone. What about Mom's cancer? Robert pulled out a tablet. 3 years ago, your mother started experiencing symptoms. Fatigue, nausea, hair loss. Doctors diagnosed stage 4 cancer. Aggressive, inoperable. She died 6 months later. I was there, Claire said. I watched her die. I know. Robert's voice cracked slightly. I wanted to be there. She wouldn't let me. Said it was too dangerous. That if Marcus saw me, he'd know I was still watching. He swiped through files on the tablet. After she died, I paid for a private autopsy. The findings were clear. Heavy metal poisoning over an extended period, arsenic, lead, mercury. Someone had been dosing her. Claire felt sick. The supplements. What? Mom took supplements for energy. A pharmacy delivered them monthly? She pressed her hands to her mouth. Oh God, Derek brought them. He said he wanted to help take care of her. Robert's eyes went dark. Derek was already in your lives 3 years ago. We'd been dating for 4 months when Mom got sick. He was so supportive. Drove her to appointments. Picked up prescriptions. Claire felt bile rise. It was him. He poisoned her. On Marcus's orders. Most likely. They wanted the algorithm. Your mother wouldn't sell, so they killed her and waited for you to inherit. Then Derek swooped in, Claire finished. Married me, got me to sign over the rights. Creating a shell company to hide the theft. Robert added, I've been tracking the money. Derek and Vanessa Price established TechCore Solutions using your mother's algorithm. They're about to close a $400 million acquisition deal. Claire couldn't breathe. The baby kicked frantically, feeding off her panic. She pressed both hands against her belly, trying to calm down, trying to think. Why didn't you tell me before, she asked. 3 years, why wait until now? I needed proof. Robert said, enough to destroy them completely. I was close. Then I saw Derek's divorce filing this morning and realized I was out of time. If he gets away clean, you'll have nothing. No justice, no security, no future. I still don't have proof, Claire said. Just your word. Not just my word. Robert pulled out another tablet. I have a team. Julian Hayes, corporate attorney. Gina Torres, forensic accountant. We've been building the case for years, following the money, Documenting the fraud, he showed her files, bank records, shell company registrations, email chains between Derek and Marcus. It was all there, Emma. A conspiracy mapped out in paper and pixels. We take this to the FBI, Robert said. White-collar crimes division. They investigate. Derek and Marcus go to prison for fraud at minimum. Maybe murder if we can prove the poisoning. Hope flickered in Claire's chest. Dangerous. Fragile. You really think it'll work? I know it will, Robert said. I've spent 16 years preparing for this. I won't let them win. Claire looked at her father, really looked at him, saw the exhaustion, the determination, the grief he'd been carrying alone for almost 2 decades. Why now, she asked softly. Why not wait for better evidence? Robert met her eyes. Because they hurt my daughter, and I've already lost 16 years. I won't lose you too. Something cracked in Claire's chest, the wall she'd built against him. Just a small fracture, but enough. Okay, she said. What do we do? The next 72 hours blurred together. Robert moved Claire to a safe location, a brownstone in Brooklyn he'd been renting under a different name. Security team at the door. Everything she needed provided. Julian Hayes was exactly what Claire expected from a high-powered attorney. 50s, sharp suit, sharper mind. He reviewed the evidence with clinical precision. The patent theft is solid, Julian said, spreading documents across the dining table. Derek used his position as trustee of your mother's estate to transfer intellectual property rights to a shell corporation. That's fraud. Can we prove it? Claire asked. The paper trail is clear. Shell company documents show Derek and Marcus as beneficial owners. Your mother's algorithm is the company's primary asset. The timing corresponds with your marriage in the estate reorganization. Gina Torres was different from Julian. Younger, intense. She attacked financial data like a code to be cracked. I've traced the money through 6 layers of corporate structure, Gina explained, showing Claire her laptop. TechCore Solutions is owned by Healthbridge Holdings, which is owned by 2 other companies, which ultimately trace back to Marcus Castellano's hedge fund. Is that illegal? Claire asked. The structure itself isn't, but using it to hide stolen intellectual property is. And look at this. Gina pulled up another file. Monthly wire transfers from Marcus's personal account to a pharmacy, same pharmacy that delivered your mother's supplements. Claire's stomach turned. How much? $50,000 over 6 months. Way too much for legitimate supplements. Can we prove what was in them? If we can get the FBI to investigate, they can subpoena the pharmacy records, test remaining inventory. Your mother's body was cremated. But if we have tissue samples, the hospital might, Claire said suddenly. Mom had a biopsy. They keep those, right? Beth Morgan confirmed it when Claire called. Tissue samples are stored for 7 years. I can request them for the FBI if there's an investigation. Everything was coming together. Claire felt the first real hope since that night in the penthouse. Maybe justice was possible. Agent Brennan from the FBI's White-Collar Crimes Division met them at a coffee shop in Midtown. He was younger than Claire expected. Early 40s, wedding ring, kind eyes. I've reviewed the preliminary evidence Mr. Hutchinson provided. Brennan said, it's compelling. Patent fraud, money laundering, possibly involuntary manslaughter if we can prove the poisoning. What do you need from us? Robert asked. Everything you've got. I'll need to verify it independently. But if it holds up, I can get a warrant within 48 hours. We'll raid both locations simultaneously. TechCore Solutions in Marcus Castellano's office. Claire felt lightheaded with relief. Then it's over. Brennan's expression was cautious. These things take time, but yes, if the evidence is what you say, we'll have them. They spent the rest of the day preparing, organizing files, making copies, building the strongest case possible. Claire felt something she hadn't in days. Power, control. That night, she sat with her father in the brownstone's kitchen. Robert made tea. They didn't talk much, but the silence felt different. Less angry, more sad. I'm sorry, Robert said finally, for leaving, for making you think I didn't care. Claire wrapped her hands around the warm mug. I'm sorry I wouldn't listen at the funeral. You had every right to be angry. I still am, Claire admitted. But I'm also tired of being angry. It doesn't change anything. Robert nodded. Your mother used to say that. Anger is just fear wearing armor. Claire smiled despite herself. She was always saying stuff like that. She was brilliant and brave. She knew Marcus was dangerous, but she refused to be intimidated. Refused to sell the algorithm to him even when he offered 10 times what it was worth. Why did he want it so badly? Control, power. Your mother's work could revolutionize healthcare. Whoever owns it shapes the industry for decades. Marcus wanted that influence. When she wouldn't sell, he decided to take it. Claire touched her belly. The baby was quiet now. Sleeping, maybe. Do you think Derek ever cared about me at all? Robert was quiet for a long moment. I think he's his father's son. I think he was taught that people are resources to be exploited. That love is weakness. That's sad, Claire said. It's evil, Kisa, Robert corrected gently. There's a difference, Wilma. They sat in silence. Outside, the city hummed. Claire felt a baby kick, a small flutter, a reminder that life continued, that hope was possible. What happens after, she asked. After they're arrested, after the trial. You get your mother's algorithm back. You decide what to do with it. Sell it. Develop it yourself. Whatever you want. I don't want money, Claire said. I want purpose. I want Mom's work to mean something. Robert smiled. Then make it mean something. You have that power. For the first time since this nightmare began, Claire could imagine a future. Not the one she'd planned with Derek. Something different, something real. The next morning, Agent Brennan called. We got the warrant. Raids happen tomorrow at 0800 hours. Both locations. Claire couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. She paced the brownstone while Robert made phone calls, coordinating with his team, making sure everything was ready. After tomorrow, Robert said, they can't touch you anymore. Claire wanted to believe that. She really did. At 7:59 the next morning, she sat with her father watching news feeds on his tablet. 2 screens, 2 locations. 8 o'clock. FBI agents in tactical gear stormed both buildings simultaneously. TechCore Solutions, Marcus Castellano's hedge fund, they carried boxes, led people out in handcuffs. The news picked it up within minutes. FBI raids tech startup and hedge fund in coordinated operation. Claire's phone rang. Derek. She let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again and again. Don't answer, Robert said. But Claire was already listening to the voicemail. Derek's voice was panicked, furious. What did you do? The FBI just seized everything. Everything, you stupid bitch. You have no idea what you've started. She deleted it. The next message was calmer, more controlled. Derek's lawyer voice. Claire, we need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. Call me. We can work this out. He's scared, Robert said with satisfaction. Good. By noon, the story was everywhere. Social media, news sites, federal investigation into patent theft and fraud. Marcus Castellano's name splashed across headlines. Julian called. The evidence is holding up. Brennan says they're preparing criminal charges. Derek and Marcus both. Vanessa too. Probably. Claire felt tears coming. Relief. Justice. It's really over. Not yet, Julian warned. But we're close. That's when everything fell apart. At 3 p.m., Agent Brennan called. His voice was tight. We have a problem. The warrants were just quashed by a federal judge. All evidence seized this morning is inadmissible. Robert went very still. What judge? Judge Patricia Winters. She ruled that the warrants were based on illegally obtained evidence. That's not true, Robert said. Everything we gave you was legitimate. Doesn't matter. Winters made the call. The investigation is closed. The line went dead. Robert and Claire stared at each other. Marcus got to the judge, Robert said quietly. Can he do that? He can if he has enough money and enough leverage. Claire felt the world tilt. So they win just like that. Before Robert could answer, another call came in. Julian, his voice was shaking. They're countersuing. Derek's lawyers filed defamation and harassment charges against Claire. They got a restraining order. She can't contact Derek, can't access any shared assets. That's insane, Claire said. We were reporting a crime. They're claiming you fabricated evidence out of spite, that you're emotionally unstable. The walls closed in. Claire couldn't breathe. All that hope, all that work, gone in an afternoon. There's more, Julian said. He sounded sick. They leaked something to the press. Medical records. They say you have a history of mental illness. Drug abuse. That's a lie, Claire shouted. I've never, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. By evening, her face was on every gossip site. Billionaire heiress's mental breakdown. Unstable woman makes false accusations. Poor Derek Castellano, targeted by his vindictive ex. Claire sat on the floor of the brownstone and cried until she couldn't anymore. Robert held her awkwardly, like he'd forgotten how to comfort someone. We'll fight this, he promised. Will, how go in? Claire asked. They have judges in their pocket. They control the narrative. We have nothing. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it. Sign the divorce settlement. Stop fighting, or it gets worse for you. No signature. But Claire knew who sent it. The next 2 weeks were a special kind of hell. Child Protective Services showed up at the brownstone. Someone had called in a report. Pregnant woman, unstable, possibly a danger to herself and her unborn child. The social worker was polite but firm. We need to do a home evaluation, Miss Hutchinson, and you'll need to undergo a psychological evaluation. This is harassment, Robert said. This is protocol. Sir, we received credible concerns. Claire submitted to the evaluation, answered questions for hours. The psychologist was neutral, professional, but Claire could see it in her eyes. Doubt, suspicion. Your husband says you've been making serious accusations without evidence, the psychologist said carefully. Ex-husband, and I have evidence. Evidence that was ruled inadmissible in court because the judge is corrupt. The psychologist made a note. Claire felt the trap closing. The report came back a week later. Subject displays signs of paranoid thinking and persecution complex. Recommend monitored custody arrangement upon birth of child. Claire read it 3 times. They were going to take her baby. We'll appeal, Julian said, but his voice lacked conviction. Robert's money was tied up in federal review. Marcus had triggered an audit, claiming Robert was hiding assets. Everything was frozen until the IRS finished investigating. I can't even pay my own lawyers, Robert said. He looked older suddenly, beaten. Derek went on television, a friendly morning show interview. He smiled sadly at the camera. Claire is the mother of my child, but he said. I care about her, but she's not well. I hope she gets the help she needs. Vanessa sat beside him, supportive, concerned. We just want what's best for everyone. They looked perfect together. America's tech power couple, victims of a disturbed woman's delusions. Claire watched from the brownstone, 8 months pregnant, unemployed, nearly homeless. The life she'd built was gone. The justice she'd fought for was gone. Even her father's money was gone. She had nothing. That night, Scott Mercer made his move. Scott was Derek's business partner. Claire had met him a few times. Nice enough guy. Boring. She'd forgotten he existed until his name appeared on her phone. Claire, it's Scott. I need to talk to you about Derek. Hope flickered. What about him? Not over the phone. Can we meet? They met at a diner in Queens. Neutral ground. Scott looked nervous, kept glancing over his shoulder. I've been keeping Derek's books for years, Scott said. I know what he did. I know about your mother. Claire's heart raced. Will you testify? I want to, but Marcus has leverage on me. Tax stuff from years ago. If I talk, I go to prison. So you're here to tell me you can't help. I'm here to warn you. Scott leaned forward. Marcus is planning something. I overheard a call. They're going after your father next. Some kind of setup. I don't know details, but it's happening soon. What kind of setup? I don't know. I just know it's bad. And once they get your father, you'll have no protection at all. Scott left cash for his coffee and hurried out. Claire sat alone, mind racing. She called Robert. We need to talk. It's urgent. Back at the brownstone, she told him everything. Robert listened, face growing darker. Marcus is trying to isolate you completely. he said. If I'm discredited or arrested, you're alone. What do we do? I leave tonight. Disappear before whatever Marcus is planning can happen. No, Claire grabbed his arm. You can't leave me again. Claire, you left for 16 years. You don't get to do it again. Robert looked at her, really looked at her. I left to protect you. I'm leaving now for the same reason. Bull, you're leaving because you're scared. Because this got hard, and you don't know what else to do. The words hung in the air. Robert's jaw worked. Then he sank into a chair, head in his hands. You're right, he said quietly. I am scared. Marcus is winning. I don't know how to stop him. Claire sat beside him, her belly pressed against the edge of the table. The baby kicked. She placed her father's hand over the spot. Feel that, she asked. Robert nodded, eyes wet. That's your grandchild, your family. Mom is gone. Derek took everything. If you run now, Marcus wins, completely. Is that what you want? I want you safe. Then fight, Claire said. Stop protecting me and start trusting me. We're in this together. Robert was quiet for a long moment. Then he squeezed her hand. Together. They spent the night making plans. Real plans this time, not relying on courts or judges or systems Marcus could corrupt. Something different. We need someone he can't buy, Robert said. Someone with nothing to lose. While Claire thought about it. What about Gina, the forensic accountant? What about her? Oh, she's been working this case for years. If anyone wants Marcus down, it's her. And she doesn't work for the FBI. She works for you. Robert pulled out his phone, called Gina. It was 2 a.m, but she answered immediately. I need you to do something off the books, Robert said. Something that might be illegal. You can say no. Tell me, Gina said. They talked for 20 minutes. When Robert hung up, he looked at Claire. She's in. She's going to hack TechCore's servers, find evidence the FBI missed, build a case they can't ignore. That's illegal, Claire said. Yes. Good. They were still planning when the doorbell rang. 3 a.m. Claire's blood went cold. Robert moved to the window, looked out. His face went white. It's the police, he said. What do they want? I don't know. But Claire knew. Deep in her gut, she knew. Marcus's plan. Whatever Scott had warned them about, it was happening now. Robert opened the door. 4 officers. Grim faces. Robert Hutchinson, you're under arrest for financial fraud and witness tampering. That's absurd, Robert said. On whose authority of federal warrant? You need to come with us. They put him in handcuffs. Read him his rights. One officer looked at Claire with something like pity. Ma'am, is there someone we can call for you? Claire shook her head. Mute, numb. They took Robert away. The door closed. She was alone. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. Claire, Marcus Castellano's voice. Smooth. Satisfied. I hope you're paying attention. This is what happens when you don't know your place. You can't do this, Claire whispered. I just did. Your father will spend the next 10 years fighting these charges. By the time he's cleared, you'll have nothing left. Your baby will be raised by strangers. Derek will have moved on. And you'll be a cautionary tale. Why are you doing this? Because your mother thought she could tell me no. Because you thought you could fight me. He paused. Sign the settlement papers. Claire, accept what Derek is offering. Disappear quietly. It's the best deal you're going to get. And if I don't, then I finish destroying you. The line went dead. Claire stood in the empty brownstone, 8 months pregnant, broke, alone, her father arrested, her husband stealing her inheritance, her mother's killer walking free. She walked to the bathroom, looked at herself in the mirror, saw a stranger, hollow-eyed, exhausted, beaten. The settlement papers were on the kitchen table. Derek's lawyer had delivered them yesterday. Sign here and walk away with nothing. Refuse and lose everything. Claire picked up a pen. Claire stared at the settlement papers for a long time. The pen trembled in her hand. Her signature was all it would take. One name at the bottom of the page. Then this nightmare would be over. She thought about her mother, about those last weeks in the hospital, how her mother had held Claire's hand and said, "Promise me you'll be brave." Claire had promised, had meant it, but she didn't feel brave now. She felt broken. The baby kicked, hard enough to hurt. Claire pressed her hand to her belly and felt her daughter moving. Her daughter who would be born into a world where monsters won, where people like Marcus Castellano could murder and steal and walk away smiling. What kind of world was that? Claire put down the pen. She couldn't sign. Not yet. Maybe she'd lose everything anyway. Maybe Derek would get custody and Marcus would destroy whatever life she managed to build. But at least she'd go down fighting. Her mother deserved that much. Morning came. Claire called Julian from a borrowed phone. "Is there any way to help my father?" "I'm working on it." The charges are based on evidence provided by someone inside his organization. Testimony that Robert falsified documents and coerced witnesses. Who provided the testimony? Julian was quiet. "I can't say." Julian, who betrayed my father? More silence. Then me. The world stopped. Claire felt the phone slip from her fingers. Julian kept talking, but she couldn't hear him. The words were just noise. Julian Hayes, her father's lawyer, his friend, the man who'd been building this case for years. He'd sold them out. Claire picked up the phone with shaking hands. "Why?" "Marcus found out about something I did. Years ago, I embezzled from a client, covered it up. He said if I didn't help him, he'd expose it. I'd lose everything. So you destroyed my father instead." "I'm sorry, I never meant—" Claire hung up. She couldn't listen anymore. That afternoon, news broke. Federal investigators raid Robert Hutchinson's properties. They found evidence he'd been operating an illegal surveillance network, wiretapping, hacking, stealing corporate secrets. It was all fabricated. Claire knew that, but it didn't matter. The public didn't know. They saw a corrupt billionaire who'd been caught. Social media exploded. The same people who'd supported Claire's accusations now turned on her father. He's as bad as the rest of them. Maybe worse. Claire watched the news in a hotel room she could barely afford. Her credit cards were declining. The brownstone was seized as part of Robert's investigation. She had nowhere to go. That's when the contractions started. At first she thought it was false labor, Braxton Hicks, but they kept coming. Regular, intensifying. She looked at her phone. 34 weeks pregnant. Too early. The baby wasn't ready. She called Dr. Beth Morgan. Beth answered immediately. "How far apart are the contractions?" 5 minutes, maybe less. "Get to the hospital. Now." Claire took a taxi she couldn't afford to Mount Sinai. Beth met her in the emergency room, face tight with concern. "We need to stop the labor if we can," Beth said. "The baby needs more time." They admitted Claire, gave her medication to slow contractions, monitored the baby's heartbeat. Everything was borderline, not quite crisis, not quite stable. Beth sat beside Claire's bed holding her hand. "What happened? Your stress levels are through the roof." Claire told her, all of it. Robert's arrest, Julian's betrayal, the settlement papers she couldn't bring herself to sign. "You need to take care of yourself," Beth said gently. "I know you want justice, but right now your baby needs you alive and functional." "They're going to take her." Claire's voice broke. "CPS is going to take my daughter the moment she's born." "We don't know that." "Yes, we do." Beth was quiet. Then she pulled out her phone, typed something, showed Claire the screen. It was an email. From Beth to Agent Brennan from the FBI, 3 years old, sent right after Claire's mother died. "I tried to report my suspicions about her mother's death." Beth said. The FBI never responded. Claire read the email. Beth had documented everything, the symptoms that didn't match cancer, the rapid deterioration, the supplements from an unlicensed pharmacy. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I had no proof, just suspicions. I didn't want to give you false hope." Beth paused. "But I kept copies of your mother's blood work and her tissue samples. All of it. If you want to reopen the investigation, we have the evidence." The judge already threw out the case. Judge Winters threw out evidence obtained through Robert's investigation. She can't throw out medical records from a hospital. That's protected health information. Subpoena proof. A spark. Tiny. Fragile. But there. Who do we give them to? Claire asked. I don't know yet, but let me make some calls. Beth stepped out of the room. Claire lay in the hospital bed, one hand on her belly, feeling her daughter's heartbeat through her skin. They were still fighting, both of them. That had to count for something. Her phone buzzed. A text from Gina Torres. I found something. Can you talk? Claire called her. Gina answered on the first ring. I've been in TechCore's servers for the last 48 hours. Gina said, the hack Julian did for Marcus? He missed something. There's a backup server. Encrypted. Hidden. What's on it? Everything. Emails between Derek and Marcus planning your mother's death. Financial records showing payments to the pharmacy. Evidence of bribes to Judge Winters. All of it. Claire sat up despite the ivy tugging at her arm. Can you get it? Already did. I have copies. Multiple copies in multiple locations. But it's still inadmissible. Illegally obtained. Not if we give it to the right person. Who's Sam? There's a U.S. attorney, Sarah Martinez. She's been investigating Marcus for years on unrelated charges. Money laundering, tax evasion. If we give her this evidence anonymously, she can use it to get her own warrants. Start a grand jury investigation. Will she believe it? The evidence speaks for itself, and she hates Marcus. Tried to prosecute him 5 years ago, but witnesses disappeared. She wants him gone as badly as we do. Claire felt something she hadn't in days. Hope. Real hope. Do it. Already on it. She'll have the files by tomorrow morning. They hung up. Claire lay back, breathing carefully through another contraction. The baby kicked, strung by determined. We're going to win, Claire whispered to her daughter. I don't know how yet, but we're going to win. That night, Marcus Castellano made his final mistake. He came to the hospital. Claire woke to find him standing in her room. Late, maybe 2 in the morning. The nurse's station was empty. He must have bribed someone to let him up. Hello, Claire boy, he said. She fumbled for the call button. He caught her wrist. Gentle but firm. I'm not here to hurt you, he said. I'm here to offer you a choice. Let go of me. He released her, stepped back, held up his hands. I came to deliver a message from Derek. I don't want to hear it. He's willing to increase the settlement. $2 million. Full custody rights. You can see your daughter on holidays. That's not an increase. That's an insult. Marcus smiled. It's more than you have now. Get out. You're going into labor, probably within the next few days. When the baby is born, CPS will be waiting. You'll lose her, unless you sign the papers. Then Derek withdraws his custody petition. You get money, you get access, you get a life. Claire looked at this man who'd killed her mother, who'd tried to destroy her father, who'd stolen everything she had. And she laughed. It wasn't hysterical laughter, it was genuine, surprised. She laughed because suddenly she understood. You're scared, she said. Marcus's smile faltered. You came here in the middle of the night to threaten a pregnant woman because you're scared. Something happened. Something I don't know about yet, and you're trying to end this before it gets worse. Marcus's jaw tightened. You're delusional. Maybe, but you wouldn't be here if you were winning. They stared at each other. Then Marcus turned and left. Claire grabbed her phone the moment he was gone. Security footage. The hospital had to have security footage. She called Beth, who called hospital security, who pulled the tapes. Marcus Castellano entering a hospital room uninvited at 2 in the morning, grabbing a pregnant woman's wrist, threatening her. Beth looked at Claire. This is assault. We can press charges. Not yet, Claire said, punned, but save the footage. We might need it. Morning came. Claire's contractions slowed. The baby settled. Crisis averted. For now. Her phone rang. Gina. Sarah Martinez just impaneled a federal grand jury. She's issuing subpoenas. Claire, we did it. The investigation is reopening. Claire closed her eyes, breathed. When, tomorrow, federal marshals are executing arrest warrants for Marcus and Derek. Vanessa too, they're charging them with murder, fraud, conspiracy, everything. And my father, his charges will be dropped. Julian already confessed to fabricating evidence under coercion. Robert will be released by end of day. Claire felt tears coming. It's really over. Almost the trial will take time, but yes, they're done. That afternoon, Claire watched the news from her hospital bed. Federal agents arrested Marcus Castellano at his office, Derek Castellano at TechCore Solutions, Vanessa Price at her apartment. All three were led away in handcuffs. The charges scrolled across the screen. Murder, fraud, conspiracy, witness tampering, bribery. Derek looked at the cameras. For just a moment, his mask slipped. Claire saw fear. Real fear. Good. Claire went into labor 2 days later. Real labor this time. Fast and intense. Beth coached her through it. You're doing great. Almost there. 10 hours later, Claire held her daughter. Tiny. Perfect. 5 pounds, 3 ounces. But breathing. Crying. Alive. What's her name? Beth asked. Claire looked down at the small face. Her mother's eyes. Her own nose. A whole new person. Iris, she said. After my mother. Iris Sullivan. Not Castellano. Never Castellano. Robert arrived later that day. Released from custody. Charges dismissed. He looked exhausted, but his eyes lit up when he saw the baby. She's beautiful, he said softly. Want to hold her? He hesitated, then nodded. Claire placed Iris in his arms and watched her father transform. All the hardness melted away. He was just a grandfather holding his granddaughter. I'm sorry I missed so much of your life, Robert said to Claire. I won't miss hers. I know. The trial started 6 months later. Claire testified on day 3. She told her story. All of it. Derek's betrayal, her mother's murder, Marcus's threats in the hospital. Derek's lawyer tried to discredit her. Isn't it true you signed a prenuptial agreement willingly? I signed it trusting my husband. Claire said, he betrayed that trust. Isn't it true you have a history of mental instability? I have a history of being systematically gaslighted by your client and his father. The jury listened, grim-faced, focused. Vanessa testified next. She'd cut a deal, immunity in exchange for testimony. She told everything. How Marcus had approached her 5 years ago with a plan. How Derek had researched Claire, chosen her specifically. It was always about the algorithm, Vanessa said. Derek pretended to love her. I pretended to be friends with her. All of it was a performance. Did you know about the poisoning? The prosecutor asked. Not at first. Marcus handled that. But when Claire's mother died, Derek told me. He thought it was funny. Said she died thinking he cared about her. Claire watched Derek's face. He showed nothing. Empty eyes. The pharmacy records came next. Testimony from the pharmacist who'd prepared the supplements. He'd been paid $50,000 to add heavy metals. Slow acting, untraceable. He thought it was for research. Dr. Beth Morgan testified about the tissue samples, the toxicology results. This was deliberate poisoning over an extended period. There's no other explanation. Marcus's lawyer tried to argue reasonable doubt. My client sent money to a pharmacy. That's not a crime. Where's the direct evidence he ordered the poison? Then Gina presented the emails, recovered from the hidden server. Marcus to Derek. The supplements are working. Another few months. Derek to Marcus. She's getting sicker. Won't be long now. The courtroom went silent. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. Guilty on all counts. Marcus Castellano. Life without possibility of parole. Derek Castellano. 35 years federal prison. Vanessa Price. 10 years. Credit for cooperation. Claire sat in the courtroom holding Iris. Her father beside her. When the verdict was read, she didn't feel triumphant. Just tired. Sad. Justice wasn't joy. It was just the absence of injustice. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Claire made a brief statement. My mother was a brilliant woman who wanted to help people. She developed technology that could save millions of lives. Derek Castellano and his father tried to steal that legacy. They failed. The algorithm belongs to her estate now. To me, and I'm going to do what she always wanted. Make it available to everyone who needs it. What about the money? A reporter shouted. I'm establishing a foundation, the Iris Sullivan Foundation. It'll fund medical research and support survivors of domestic abuse. Every dollar the Castellanos stole will go toward helping others. More questions. Claire ignored them. She walked away with her daughter and her father. They had a life to rebuild. The foundation's headquarters occupied a converted brownstone in Brooklyn. Ironic. Maybe. But Claire liked the symbolism, taking something broken and making it new. She stood in what used to be the living room, now an office, watching her team work. Researchers, advocates, survivors, all of them building something that mattered. Iris played in a corner with blocks, 15 months old now, talking, walking, thriving. Robert came in carrying coffee. The hospital partnership is finalized. They'll start using the algorithm in their oncology department next month. Free of charge, Claire confirmed. Free of charge, just like your mother wanted. Claire smiled. They'd made it. Not just survived, actually made it. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her. Hello, Claire, it's Scott Mercer. He sounded nervous. I don't know if you remember me. Derek's business partner, the one who warned us. Yeah, I testified at the trial, helped put him away. I remember. Thank you. I'm calling because I wanted to apologize. I knew what they were doing. Not everything, but enough. I should have said something sooner. Claire thought about that. Why didn't you? Fear, greed, cowardice. Take your pick. But you did speak up. Eventually. Eventually isn't soon enough. Claire looked at Iris, at her father, at the foundation that bore her mother's name. Maybe not, she said. But it's something. Sometimes that's all we get. The chance to do better next time. Scott was quiet. Then, thank you for saying that. They hung up. Claire went back to work. That evening, she and Robert took Iris to the cemetery. Her mother's grave. The headstone read Iris Sullivan. Beloved mother, brilliant innovator, brave woman. Claire placed flowers. Iris toddled around exploring. I think she'd be proud, Robert said. I hope so. She would. You took everything they tried to destroy and turned it into something beautiful. Claire leaned against her father. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. They stood in comfortable silence. Iris brought Claire a dandelion. Claire tucked it behind her daughter's ear. Tell me about when you were little, Iris said. Her vocabulary was expanding daily. When I was little, Claire said, my mom used to tell me stories about women who changed the world. Scientists, inventors, leaders. She said any of us could be like them if we were brave. Were you brave? Claire thought about the past year, the fear, the fighting, the moments she'd wanted to give up. I tried to be, she said. And when I couldn't be brave, other people were brave for me. Your grandfather, Dr. Beth. Friends I didn't even know I had. That's the thing about courage, Robert added. It's not something you have or don't have. It's something you borrow from the people who love you. They walked back to the car as the sun set. Iris fell asleep in her car seat. Claire drove while Robert dozed in the passenger seat. She thought about Derek in prison, Marcus in prison, justice served but lives still shattered. She thought about her mother, about the algorithm that was now saving lives in 12 hospitals across 3 states. She thought about the foundation, about the women they had helped escape bad situations, start over, find safety. And she thought about the future, about teaching Iris to code, about showing her daughter that the world was bigger than their pain, that good could come from tragedy if you were willing to build it. Her phone buzzed at a red light, email notification. The subject line made her smile. Partnership confirmed Iris Sullivan algorithm approved for VA hospital system nationwide. Her mother's work. Saving veterans. Detecting diseases early. Giving people more time with their families. Claire forwarded the email to Robert. Sent a copy to Beth. Then she put her phone away and drove home. There was work tomorrow. Always more work. But tonight was for family. For being present. For remembering that survival wasn't just about getting through the darkness. It was about deciding what to do with the light on the other side. They ordered pizza, played with Iris until her bedtime. Robert read her a story while Claire cleaned up. Later, after Iris was asleep and Robert had gone to his room, Claire sat alone in the kitchen. The brownstone was quiet, safe, hers. She opened her laptop and started writing. Not legal documents this time, not foundation paperwork. A letter to her daughter. For someday when Iris was old enough to understand. Dear Iris, she wrote, by the time you read this, you'll know the story of how you came into the world. The bad parts and the good. I want you to know something important. You weren't born from love. Your father didn't love me, but you were born into love, into a family that chose to fight for each other. That matters more. She wrote for an hour about pain and healing, about justice and mercy, about the difference between revenge and redemption. Your grandmother once told me that anger is just fear wearing armor. Claire wrote, I understand that now. I was so angry for so long. Angry at your father, angry at Marcus, angry at everyone who hurt us. But that anger was really fear. Fear that I couldn't protect you. Fear that the bad guys would win. Fear that your life would be defined by their cruelty. But here's what I learned. Bad guys don't win by being stronger. They win when we stop fighting, when we give up, when we let them make us smaller than we are. You come from a line of strong women. Your grandmother built technology that saves lives. I built a foundation that helps people. Someday, you'll build something too. I don't know what, but I know it will be important. Because you're important. Not because of who your father is or isn't, because of who you choose to be. Claire saved the file. She'd add to it over the years. A living document, a record of lessons learned. Her phone rang. Beth. Sorry for calling late, Beth said, but I wanted to tell you. The tissue samples we saved, the ones that proved your mother was poisoned, the FBI wants to use them as training material. To teach agents how to spot slow poisoning cases. Claire felt her throat tighten. She'd like that, being useful even now. That's what I thought. Also, I have a patient, young woman. Her husband is doing to her what Derek did to you. Financial abuse, gaslighting. I gave her your number. Hope that's okay. Of course. She's scared, broke, doesn't think she can leave. Tell her to call me. I'll help. Because that was the point. Not just surviving, but reaching back to pull others through. Making sure her mother's death, her pain, all of it, made the world a little bit better. They talked for a few more minutes, made plans to meet for lunch next week. After hanging up, Claire checked on Iris one more time. Her daughter slept peacefully, one small hand clutching a stuffed rabbit. Claire kissed her forehead. Sweet dreams, baby girl. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching her daughter breathe, marveling that something so perfect could exist in a world so broken. Then she went to bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles. But tonight she could rest, because they'd won. Not perfectly, not without scars, but they'd won. And sometimes that's all any of us can hope for. 3 years after the trial, Claire stood on stage at a medical conference in Boston. Behind her, screens displayed data. Charts showing the Iris Sullivan algorithm's success rate, 94% accuracy in early cancer detection, thousands of lives saved. My mother believed technology should serve humanity, Claire said, not profit margins. That's why this algorithm is free to any medical institution that wants it, because saving lives shouldn't have a price tag. Applause filled the auditorium. Claire scanned the crowd and saw familiar faces. Beth Morgan in the front row, Gina Torres taking notes, Agent Brennan, who'd helped reopen the case, sitting near the back, and Robert, her father, looking proud. After the presentation, reporters asked questions. Do you regret how things turned out with Derek Castellano? Claire considered the question. I regret that he chose cruelty over compassion, but I don't regret fighting back. My mother deserved justice. I deserve justice. Every person who trusted him deserved justice. Derek has filed multiple appeals. He claims he was wrongly convicted. The evidence speaks for itself. Do you hate him? Claire paused. That was a harder question. I don't think about him enough to hate him. I'm too busy living. More questions, more cameras. Claire answered patiently, but her mind was elsewhere. Tonight was Iris's 4th birthday. They were having a party. Nothing fancy, just family and friends. She excused herself and headed backstage. Beth was waiting. That was beautiful. Beth said. Your mom would be so proud. Thanks for everything, Claire said. For believing me, for keeping the evidence, for being there. Beth hugged her. That's what friends do. They walked out together. Gina joined them in the parking lot. I have news, Gina said. Julian Hayes is being disbarred. The ethics committee finished their investigation. Claire felt a twinge of something. Not satisfaction, sadness maybe. How's he doing? Last I heard, he's teaching at a community college. Trying to make amends. Good for him. They drove back to New York together, talking, laughing, planning. The foundation was expanding, opening chapters in 5 new cities. The work was never done, but it was good work. Meaningful work. At home, Robert had decorated the brownstone with balloons and streamers. Iris ran to Claire the moment she walked in. Mama, you're here. Claire scooped her up. Of course I'm here. Wouldn't miss your birthday. Friends arrived. Other parents from Iris's preschool, colleagues from the foundation, people who'd been helped by the foundation and wanted to give back. They ate cake, played games. Iris opened presents and shrieked with joy at each one. She's happy, Robert said quietly to Claire. Despite everything, she's happy. Kids are resilient, Claire said. So are you, Claire smiled. I learned it from the best. Later, after everyone left and Iris was in bed, Claire and Robert sat in the kitchen with coffee. I've been thinking about writing a book, Robert said, about everything that happened. Not for money, just to document it, so people know how these systems fail, how corruption works. You should. Would you help? Claire thought about it, about putting it all into words, the pain, the fear, the triumph. Yeah, she said, I would. They talked late into the night, planning, remembering, healing. Around midnight, Claire's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Is this Claire Hutchinson? A woman's voice, young, scared. Yes. Who is this? My name is Emily. Dr. Morgan gave me your number. She said you could help. Claire sat up straighter. What do you need? My husband. He's controlling all our money. He's telling people I'm crazy. I found out he's been stealing from my inheritance. I don't know what to do. Claire felt a familiar fire ignite. Where are you right now? Home. He's asleep. I'm hiding in the bathroom. Do you have somewhere safe to go? My sister's, but I don't have money for a cab. He took my credit cards. Text me your address. I'll send a car. And Emily. Claire softened her voice. You're going to be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you will. Emily sobbed quietly. Thank you. Claire hung up and made calls. Car service, safe house, lawyer. The network she'd built over the past 3 years sprang into action. Robert watched her work. You do this a lot. Couple times a month, Beth refers most of them. Sometimes they find us through the website. You're good at this. I had good teachers. Claire finished the last call and stretched. Emily will be at her sister's in an hour. Lawyer meeting tomorrow. Emergency restraining order by end of week. What about money? Foundation grant. We have a fund for exactly this. Robert shook his head in wonder. You built something amazing. Claire, we built something amazing. I couldn't have done it without you. They sat in comfortable silence. Outside, the city hummed, millions of lives intersecting. Some breaking, some healing. All of them mattering. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd signed the settlement? Robert asked. Claire considered it. Sometimes, but I think I know. I'd have money, supervised visits with Iris, and nothing else. No purpose, no peace, just survival. You wanted more than survival. I wanted meaning. I wanted Mom's death to matter. I wanted to be someone Iris could be proud of. You are, Claire smiled. Thanks, Dad. The words still felt new, foreign almost, but real. They'd earned them, both of them, at 2 a.m. Her phone buzzed. Emily, I'm safe, thank you. Claire texted back. Sleep well. We'll talk tomorrow. She went to bed feeling that familiar satisfaction. The knowledge that she'd made a difference. Small maybe, but real. In her dreams, her mother appeared. young, healthy, smiling. You did good, baby girl, her mother said. I tried. That's all anyone can do. Claire woke at dawn. Iris had crawled into bed with her sometime during the night, small body curled against hers, breathing softly. Claire stroked her daughter's hair and thought about everything that had led to this moment. The betrayal, the fight, the victory, all of it necessary, all of it earned. Her phone showed dozens of notifications, emails from hospitals wanting the algorithm, messages from women needing help, interview requests, partnership proposals. The work never ended, but that was okay. She didn't want it to end. This was her life now, her purpose. She got up quietly, made coffee, and opened her laptop. Time to help the next person, fight the next battle, build the next piece of something better. Because that's what survivors did. They survived. And then they helped others do the same. 5 years after the trial, Claire received an invitation. Derek wanted to see her. She stared at the prison letterhead for a long time. He'd written twice before. She'd ignored both letters. But this one felt different. I don't want forgiveness, it said. I just want to talk. Please. Robert found her in the kitchen holding the letter. You don't have to go, he said. I know. So why are you considering it? Claire thought about it. Closure, maybe? Or curiosity? I don't know. Is that weird? Nothing about this situation is normal. Whatever you decide, I support you. She went. The prison was upstate. 3-hour drive, gray walls and fluorescent lights. Claire signed in, went through security, and sat in a visiting room at a metal table bolted to the floor. Derek appeared in prison orange, thinner than she remembered, older. He sat across from her without meeting her eyes. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. What do you want, Derek? He finally looked at her. To tell you I'm sorry. Claire laughed. Couldn't help it. You're sorry. I know it doesn't mean anything. I know I destroyed your life, killed your mother, took everything from you. So why say it? Because it's true. He looked down at his hands. I've had a lot of time to think about what I did, why I did it, and I realized something. What? My father raised me to believe people were resources, that love was weakness, that taking what you wanted was strength. Derek's voice cracked. I believed him. I became what he made me, and now I'm spending the rest of my life in here knowing I destroyed the only real thing I ever had. Claire felt nothing, no anger, no satisfaction, just emptiness. You never loved me. I thought I didn't, but sitting in here replaying every moment, I think maybe I did, in my own twisted way. I just didn't know how to show it. That's not love, Derek. That's possession. I know that now. They sat in silence. A guard coughed nearby. Other inmates talked with their families. Life continued everywhere except in this small bubble of regret. How's Iris? Derek asked. She's good, smart, kind, nothing like you. He flinched but nodded. Good, that's good. She doesn't know who you are. She thinks her father was a stranger we don't talk to. When she's older, I'll tell her the truth. But for now, she doesn't need to carry your shame. I signed over my parental rights. Derek said, my lawyer should have sent you the papers. I don't deserve to be her father. Claire had received the papers. She'd cried when she read them, not from sadness, from relief. Thank you, she said. It's the least I could do. Literally the least. More silence. My father died last month, Derek said. Heart attack in prison. I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral. I know. It was in the news. Did you feel anything when you heard? Claire thought about Marcus Castellano, the man who'd murdered her mother, who tried to destroy her family, who died alone in a cell. Relief, she said honestly, and sadness. Not for him, for everyone he hurt, for all the good he could have done if he'd chosen differently. Derek nodded slowly. That's more generous than he deserved. It's not about what he deserved. It's about what I need. I need to believe people can change, that they can choose better. Otherwise, what's the point? Can people change? Derek asked. Really? Claire looked at him. This man who'd destroyed her life, who'd pretended to love her, who'd killed her mother. She saw something in his eyes she hadn't before. Genuine remorse. Maybe it was an act. Maybe it was real. Did it matter? I think people can choose to stop doing harm, she said. That's not the same as redemption, but it's something. Is that enough? For you to decide. Not me. Claire stood. The visit had lasted 20 minutes. That was enough. Goodbye, Derek. Claire. He called after her. For what it's worth, I'm glad you won. You deserve to win. She didn't respond, just walked out, past security, through the gates, back to her car. On the drive home, she called Robert. How did it go? He asked. He apologized, said he was sorry. Do you believe him? I don't know. I don't think it matters. He's in prison for the rest of his life. Whether he's sorry or not doesn't change anything. How do you feel? Claire thought about it. Free. Finally free. That night, she wrote the final entry in her letter to Iris. Your father asked if I forgive him. She wrote, I don't. Forgiveness isn't something I owe anyone, but I've let go of the anger, let go of the need for him to suffer, because holding on to that was hurting me more than him. This is the last thing I want you to know. You don't have to forgive people who hurt you. You don't have to forget, but you do have to decide what you're going to carry forward. Pain or purpose, anger or action. The choice is always yours. I chose purpose, I chose action, and because of that choice, I got to help hundreds of people, build something meaningful, give you a life full of love instead of fear. Whatever you choose, know that I'm proud of you. Always. Claire saved the file, closed her laptop, went to check on Iris. Her daughter slept peacefully. 6 years old now, starting first grade in the fall. She'd asked recently why she didn't have a dad like other kids. Claire had kept it simple. Some families have 2 parents, some have 1, some have grandparents who help. There's no wrong way to be a family, as long as there's love. Iris had accepted that. Kids were good at accepting truth. It was adults who complicated things. Robert appeared in the doorway. Everything okay? Yeah, just thinking. About Derek. About how far we've come. They stood together watching Iris sleep. This child born from deception but raised in truth. Proof that good could come from terrible things if you were willing to build it. I'm going to retire, Robert had said suddenly. Claire looked at him. What? From the board? From business? All of it. I want to spend time with Iris. With you. While I still can. You're not that old. I'm old enough. And I miss too much of your life. I don't want to miss hers. Claire hugged him. She'd love that. We both would. They went downstairs, poured wine, talked about the future. What do you want? Robert asked. If you could have anything, do anything, what would it be? Claire thought about it, really thought about it. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. Help people. Grow the foundation. Watch Iris grow up. Make sure mom's algorithm reaches everyone who needs it. That's it. That's everything. I don't need grand ambitions. I just need to matter, to make a difference, however small. Robert smiled. You already do. So do you. They clinked glasses. To survival, to justice, to building something good from the wreckage. Years passed. The foundation grew. Claire gave speeches, wrote articles, helped hundreds of people escape situations like hers. Iris grew into a remarkable young woman. Smart, compassionate, fascinated by technology like her grandmother. She learned to code at 8, built her first app at 12, got accepted to MIT at 17. I want to study artificial intelligence, Iris told Claire, like Grandma did. Claire felt her mother's presence in that moment, the circle completing. She'd be so proud of you, Claire said. I'm proud of you too, Mom, for fighting, for not giving up. I had good reasons not to give up. Iris hugged her. I'm glad you didn't. The day Iris left for college, Claire stood in her empty bedroom feeling the weight of time. Her daughter was grown. Her father was aging. The people who'd hurt them were gone or imprisoned. This was victory, not the dramatic kind from movies. just the quiet satisfaction of having survived, of having built something lasting from pain. Claire's phone rang. Another referral from Beth. Another woman needing help. She answered, "This is Claire. How can I help you?" And the work continued, because it always would. As long as there were people who needed help, Claire would be there. Not because she was extraordinary, because she'd learned something important. Courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was deciding what mattered more than fear. For Claire, what mattered was making sure her mother's death meant something, that her daughter grew up knowing women could be brilliant and brave, that survivors could thrive. She'd achieved that, not perfectly, not without scars, but she'd achieved it. And in the end, that was enough.